Are you ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Hello, everybody. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. I want to give a big shout out to Jacob, our amazing producer. Hey, Jacob, how you doing today?
Doing so well. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How has your February been?
It's been good. We got some snow up here in the Northwest, so it's been a little interesting on the roads, but had a nice Valentine's Day yesterday. That was fun.
Yes, and actually, speaking of that, February is known for the holiday of Valentine's Day. You know, whether you think it's a Hallmark holiday or not, it's known as the month of love. So what did you do yesterday? Did you do anything, or over the weekend? Did you do anything special with your significant other?
Yeah, my partner and I just kind of holed up because of the snow and also, of course, COVID. So we just did a little breakfast together in bed, and we got to cook together. We had, your typical like flowers and chocolate, a little wine. It was very nice and relaxing.
And that's what we do. We spend time picking out that special card, or maybe if you have kids, they're making cards. You have that special date night, or you do something extra special for your loved one, that favorite meal, the prettiest of flowers, chocolates, like you said. You go through those extra lengths to let others around you know that they are special and they mean something to you. So, question, are we showing ourselves that same kind of love? Are we practicing self-love? So I want to pose that question to you. What does self-love mean to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is very important, especially when it comes to relationships with significant others, because I believe that in order to love someone else well, you have to love yourself first.
Absolutely.
So I think that, doing the things that make you happy and make you feel good about yourself, that is all part of self-love.
I could not agree more. And that is something that we all need to pay close attention to. What do we do on a daily basis to make sure that you're feeling loved and cared for? And it starts within. It starts with yourself. And that's just what we're going to explore on today's episode. And I'd like all you listeners to chime in. I love to hear from you. Tell me what self-love means to you and how you practice self-love and self-care. So dial in at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. Throughout the show, I'd love to hear what your comments and suggestions and really what it all means to you. So let's start that out with some definitions. What does self-love and self-care truly mean? And I know a lot of times people think that they're interchangeable, and they can be, but they're not completely interchangeable. So self-love is a regard for one's own well-being and happiness. And we're not looking at this as a narcissistic characteristic, but rather as more of a desirable one. It can be hard really to define or explain because it's not logical. It's really a feeling rather than maybe a statement, especially because it's very personal, right? Self-love to one person may not be the same, be defined the same as someone else. And it's that dedicating some time every day, even if it's just 5 minutes to ourselves. It's maybe sitting in that silent contemplation of the miracle of our own company and understanding that we are truly extraordinary. even if we are not able to achieve the goals that we were supposed to achieve in order to be admired and accepted. And I think that's one of the things that people don't get past. To love yourself is to love all parts of yourself. It's living in the present. It's loving every moment, the special and unique, the good and the bad. It's listening to our bodies and honoring their needs. So I know for me, for example, on Sunday, I was real lazy. And then I kind of got on myself because I said I was lazy. It was what my body needed. I needed to relax. I needed just to be still and do nothing. And when we stop thinking that we're lazy or we didn't get our checklist done of things, we can start appreciating and listening to what our bodies and our minds need. So have you ever felt that way, Jacob? I'd like to know. So on times where like, wow, I got nothing done this weekend, and you kind of start feeling bad about yourself.
Yes. I think especially now, given all the time away from other people, it's really easy for me on the weekends to not do that chore that I said I was going to do, or, those things that I plan at the beginning of the week don't always end up happening. And so it's, yeah, I'm sure you understand that it's easy to kind of beat yourself up for that, but sometimes, you don't want to.
Oh yeah. And I think that is part of that self-love is understanding that our energy is distinctive and acknowledging that we will never be like anybody else, right? We need to walk on our own path, and we need to leave our own authentic and divine footprint. And it's being understanding of that. A lot of times I tell a lot of my clients that, would you talk to somebody else that way? Would you speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself, whether it's out loud or in your head? And that's part of self-love. Above all things, it's believing in ourselves. It's setting boundaries with others firmly, but lovingly, right? We want to be able to set those boundaries, and not only set them so other people don't cross them, but set them so we don't move them. And I think some people might be really good at not allowing others to cross their boundary because they moved it themselves. We need to be able to respect and prioritize our own needs, because by doing that, we show others what we want and deserve and how we need to be loved. And until one can really fully love themselves, just like you said earlier, how can they receive and accept and give love to others? And I think the big thing is, it's not about, liking ourselves. It's a part of it. Absolutely. We need to like ourselves, but we need to reward ourselves with love and admiration, even when we maybe don't always do our best, right? Just because we don't lose a weight or get a promotion or hit whatever goal we might, even if we maybe fall short, it gives ourselves love and praise that we even attempted to do something. We tend to punish ourselves by taking that love and praise away when we don't achieve something. It's kind of just like the love for a child. True self-love is an unconditional feeling of love, appreciation, and acceptance of ourselves. And I think that's the unconditional part that sometimes we forget. So tell me this, Jacob, what do you think? That's self-love. So what is self-care? What are the difference between self-love and self-care?
Yeah. I would say that self-care is taking that idea of self-love that you've maybe worked through with someone else or worked through on your own and putting action steps towards it. So for me, that means I like to take some time out of my day to play music by myself. I really enjoy playing soccer. And so these are things that kind of give me energy and make me feel happy, and they don't involve someone else all the time.
Yes. And see, you could be doing this show all yourself. And that's exactly right. Self-care is the practice of taking that action to preserve or improve one's own health. And that practice of taking an active role in protecting your own well-being and happiness is important. It's taking care of yourself, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's those acts of making sure you're well fed, well rested, well hydrated, all those things. And it can be pampering, absolutely, but it goes beyond pampering. It needs to really be that self-expression. So, consider this, for example, physical self-care, maybe going for a walk, learning a new dance routine, sleeping, those sort of things. Emotional or psychological, mental, emotional well-care. You might be practicing mindfulness, journaling, reading a book, having self-compassion, making sure that you're aware of those boundaries and actively maybe saying no, right? Saying no to an activity you don't want to do, saying no to adding on additional responsibility. You also have professional self-care, negotiating your needs. Setting boundaries isn't just personal boundaries, it's also work boundaries. Do you really have time to take on an additional task, or are you being honest with those around you on what you need to do? Environmental self-care, you have decluttering, recycling, respecting nature, reducing your carbon footprint, for example. Your spiritual well-care. What are your values and beliefs, whether it's time in nature, meditating, going to a religious organization or facility, and your financial self-care. There's so many ways of really promoting and honoring and taking those actions to self-care. So I think really self-love and self-care are simply about owning our own power, acting from a place of kindness towards ourselves and taking the time to remind ourselves of this power and kindness. It's that nurturing ourselves in all aspects, fully, wholly, balanced, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, because all are essential to live a happy and healthy and full life. So that's a lot, right? One thing we're going to take a break, but one thing I want you to think about is that think about self-care like your phone's battery level. You seldom let your phone get down to 1% without having your charger readily available or without freaking out that your phone is going to die. So why do we do the same to ourselves? Why do we mind our wallet, our living space, your body, your spirit? Why are we doing that? So don't let your intent battery get. If you do, you're truly useless like your phone. When you consider this and truly think about this, you will acknowledge that self-care is a priority and not a luxury. And I know all this is easier said than done. Trust me, I've been there and I'm still a work in progress, just like many of us are. So we're going to take that quick break. And when we get back, we're going to figure out, why is this so hard? You're listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tune into 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce every first and third Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. Join Susan and her guests as they share the stories that shift our souls about radical transformations, courageous breakthroughs, and life lessons. 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce. For more information, go to transformationtalkradio.com or visit Susan's website at susandolce.com.
It's time to get your life back on Burn Bright Today with Jennifer Marcinelli. Tune in each month on transformationtalkradio.com. Learn to move from the darkness of burning out to the light of burning bright. Jennifer is redefining stress and the energetic causes of burnout, shining a light on process to get your life back. For more information about Jennifer and her work, visit burnbrighttoday.com.
Hi, I'm Trish Laub from A Cup of Comfort, where we talk about Care Hero topics that nobody wants to talk about. Here's your Care Hero tip of the day. During all Care Hero journeys, the need to keep track of a lot of information arises, some of it critical. Possibly the greatest challenge Care Heroes face is the gathering and organizing of information. Just as every trade has a power tool, whether an electric drill or a laptop, my family's Care Hero power tool was the 3-ring binder. We generated a mini library of labeled 3-ring binders, one for each category of information, complemented with additional spiral notebooks used to detail medical appointments and episodes. This unfussy and convenient system of binders helped my family stay organized and able to deliver the dignified care and end of life my parents desired. Tune into my show to learn more. See you on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 12 Pacific here on Transformation Talk Radio. Feel free to reach out to me at info@trishlaub.com.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
Are you searching? Looking for a sign? A message you need to hear? From the great unknown, from the most mysterious place that is the most familiar to your soul in the depths of who you are. The universe put someone here to talk to, someone God gave a blessing to, that you may find insight with. TheAngelLady.net. 1-800-323-1790. 1-800-323-1790.
Back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on GetRootedRadio.com. That's GetRootedRadio.com. Don't forget to sign up for special self-care tips and self-love tips. That's GetRootedRadio.com. And that's just what our topic is today on today's episode is self-love. And we talked about what's the difference between self-love and self-care. And now we're going to get into why is it so hard. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have a tip or you want to tell us what self-love and self-care mean to you, give us a call at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. So as I said, during last segment, we talked about self-love and self-care, what they are not, and how they are and are not interchangeable. So what I want to ask you, Jacob, and I'm going to put you on the spot again, is tell me what is something you love about yourself?
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Self. I think I like that whether or not I love this about myself, but I don't always love this. But I have a hard time being mean and honest sometimes. I want to frame that as it's hard for me to be honest sometimes, even if that's the right thing for me to do. And when I say honest, I mean if someone asks me a question about something that they like or they care about, it's easy for me to tell them what they want to hear and not always give them. Yeah. And so, I like that, and I don't love it all the time, but it's something that I can.
You take other people's feelings into consideration, which is a very valiant thing. I mean, that is, but we don't always want to be a people pleaser.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But it took you a while to answer that. And that's very common, right? And why is that? I know personally for me, it's hard for me to answer that question. Why do you love yourself, or what do you love about yourself? That's hard because I think we're taught, many of us anyways, not everybody, but many of us are taught to, if you do that, if you compliment yourself, or it's being boastful, and, you shouldn't be boastful. You should have some humility. And I think there's a difference between being very ego-minded and very, understanding your strengths and weaknesses and what you truly love about yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's interesting to think about, why do so many of us have problems with loving ourselves and be open with admitting it? And so I think let's dive into why self-love is so hard. Part of the issue is that we truly are our harshest and worst critic. At times we indulge in negative self-talk if we don't hit a specific goal, if we aren't, quote unquote, winning like everyone appears to be on Facebook or are on our Instagram timelines, right? If we were all as great as our stories were, right? We touched upon it last segment about making sure that we are comfortable not hitting something. Or that we talk to each other or talk to ourselves like we talk to each other. We often lack that empathy towards ourselves. The kindness and the compassion we give to others is not something we always offer ourselves. We talk down to ourselves. And it just kills me sometimes. I hear myself doing it to me. Like, I wouldn't talk to my kid or my best friend or my clients that way. Why am I talking to myself that way? And for me, I think that self-love is so difficult because of two words, self-worth and self-acceptance. And, it's hard because self-love requires us to be honest about our current choices and thought patterns and really undertake new practices that reflect self-worth. Self-love is difficult because we aren't perfect. We are perfectly imperfect, but we think others are perfect. And when we choose to accept our flaws, like we accept the flaws of others, that's when self-love is possible. We abandon ourselves when we make others' attention or approval responsible for whether or not we are happy or feel love. So let's kind of repeat that. We abandon ourselves when we make others' attention or approval responsible for whether or not we are happy or we feel loved. And that is so important. My self-worth is not determined on what other people think of me, right? It's how you value yourself. It's not based on what you have or have not accomplished. It all comes from within. And it's easy to forget that our worth isn't determined by outside forces. Because I don't know about you, Jacob, but I know I make a list every weekend. Every day. I have a list right here of things that I want to get done. And there are so many times where I get off track, but I did a whole bunch of things. So I write it down on my list just so I can cross it off.
Yes, absolutely. I do that for work every day as well. Got my to-do list first thing in the morning.
And then it's like, well, why did I feel the need to write those things I already got down to cross them off? Is it because I felt more worthy or more productive? I don't know. And I think we constantly measure our worth, but we're often not aware of how we do it. And sometimes it's by our own careers, our appearance, or by our relationships. But that measurement keeps changing and they're not consistent. It's like measuring our height with a random stick. We're like, oh, look I'm taller than this stick today. Tomorrow I might be shorter than a stick because I've taken a different one. So if you wanted an accurate measurement, why would you just pick any old thing? So if we're sticking with that stick metaphor, see what I did there? I didn't even mean to do that pun. You may not even consistently think about what type of stick you are using to measure your self-worth. It's really likely that deep down after all, when you feel like you're measuring up, you feel good about yourself. But when you feel as though you've fallen short, your self-esteem plummets. And so we often we don't have the right calculations, right? We want to make sure that we don't have any preconceived notions, that our experiences don't match what we've been told or shown in the world. And we tend to pay more attention to negative experiences than the positive ones. It's just like I had a gas leak last week and somebody did some really good work. They came out and then we had our electric company had come back out to check things and they made a comment like, hey, whoever you had do this work did a really great job. So I called the people and said, hey, I wanted to let you know that the electric company thought you did an awesome job. And they were like, wow, that's so nice. Why did you call and tell us that? And I'm like, well, because you probably only get called when something bad happens. And I'd like to be able to share something good. It makes me feel good to focus on the positive. And I've said it in other episodes before. When you put a magnifying glass on something, it's going to get bigger. So if you magnify the negative experiences, they're going to be bigger and bigger. Let's take the focus off the negative and put it on the positive. And I know I always felt that I had to prove myself as worthy of everyone for everything. It's one of my biggest faults. I did things that made others happy, even if it didn't make me happy. I did this so often that I lost track of what I valued. And that's when we have to remember. Thankfully, I realized that this measuring stick set me up for disappointment and resentment. I decided that what made me happy mattered more. And I'm still a work in progress. I'm under construction, and that's okay. So instead of chasing things that temporarily boost your self-esteem, measure your self-worth by who you are at your core. And I think that is what's so important. And I want to give you a few examples. So things that don't determine your self-worth: your to-do list, your job, your social media following, your age, your appearance, other people, how far you can run, walk, climb. If you're a student, your grades. These things don't determine your self-worth. The number of friends you have, your relationship status, the money or maybe lack thereof in the bank, your likes, or anything or anyone but yourself. And that's the bottom line. Your worth is entirely up to you. You are worthy because you say you're worthy and because you believe it. Look within and trust that you are enough. So many things don't determine your self-worth, and that is important to know because all that leads to self-acceptance. Acceptance of where you are now, acknowledging and accepting those decisions, actions, and inactions that you have or have not taken. You want to accept yourself where you are at the present moment, not in the future and not in the past. We need to remember that self-love, like happiness, comes from within. We need to stop feeling that happiness and self-worth, self-love and self-acceptance will really magically just increase once you've achieved that particular goal, right? That thought that I'll be happy or I'll be loved when. Start it now. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about what happens when we start practicing self-love and self-care. I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Carrie Kadambi, and this is your Spirited Exchange moment. Have you been searching everywhere for answers? Do you long for wise guidance to lovingly direct you? Guess what? You have your very own divine spirit guides in the highest light, available 24/7, just waiting to help you live your best life. Call in your spirit guidance on a daily basis to help you make important decisions. All you have to do is ask, with a sense of openness, curiosity, and willingness to be divinely guided. Throughout your day, be open to notice what shows up for you. A spoken phrase, a book, a message from a song, or simply a knowing. And always offer gratitude for that loving guidance, and don't forget to put it into action. Join me on Transformation Talk Radio for my show, A Spirited Exchange. For more information about me, visit thedivineguidancegift.com.
When was the last time you had that feeling that you knew something, but you couldn't explain how you knew it? How powerful would it be for your life and business if you could consciously tap into that magic within you? What if you could remember that there's something supernatural about you? Tune in to Absolute Alignment with Christelle Biga when success feels easy. Every first and third Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
If you've ever had a broken heart, you know how painful that can be and how long it can sometimes take to heal it. I'm Megan Edge, author of The Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook, published with Balboa Press and Hay House. In The Heart's Journey, I share with you my own heartbreak and how I healed it through the beautiful hearts that found me in nature. From taking photographs of these hearts for myself, I've created this beautiful toolkit, which includes the guidebook, which has my story, how to work with oracle cards as a healing tool, and the story of each of these hearts as they cross my path. I've also created a beautiful journal. There's a pen, a bookmark, and of course, the 42 Healing Hearts Oracle cards. You can order the Heart's Journey Healing Hearts Oracle cards and guidebook through my website, meganedge.ca, through Balboa Press, Amazon, and many other places online or your local shops. I look forward to hearing about your heart's healing.
Optimize your breast cancer screening without any radiation or pain. Effective, sensitive, and widely used thermal imaging in Europe is now available to you here in the U.S. Using state-of-the-art FDA-approved camera, Eastside's first and only breast thermography clinic is now open in Bellevue. Safe, sensitive, low cost, no referrals needed. Contact Holistic Medical Center at 425-451-0404 or on the web, drdarvish.com.
We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, listen to other episodes, and sign up for helpful tips and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Also love to hear about you. We've been talking about self-love, self-care, self-awareness, and self-worth today. Give us a call at 1-800-930-2819. That's 1-800-930-2819. So early in the show, we talked about what self-love and self-care are and why it's so hard to love ourselves and take the needed time for that self-care. Before we begin talking about what happens when we take that leap and we really jump into truly practicing self-love and self-care, I want you all to do something for me. So if you're driving and listening to this, don't do this. But if you are at home, at your desk, or listening later, I want you to close your eyes and imagine the best version of you possible. That is what you are. So let me repeat that. That is what you are. That image, that best version of you, you are it. Let go of any part of you that doesn't believe it. That is what beginning of self-love is believing what you say about yourself to be true. So stop that negative self-talk. Stop those limiting beliefs and know that you are capable of so much more. So what happens when we begin practicing self-love and self-care? I'm not talking about that every now and again, right? I'm talking every day, putting ourselves first every day. You know, we love ourselves no matter what happens. We take the time each day, prioritize ourselves. It's like when you schedule an appointment to go to the doctor or you schedule an appointment with your boss. You don't just cancel it. You make the time to do it. And you are the most important person. And I know this is, a saying that gets flung around a lot, but it's so true. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And when we don't prioritize ourselves, and I know parents and loved ones, it's really hard to say, well, no, my kids are my first priority. I'm like that. I completely, I would drop anything for my son. But it is especially important for them to see as you grow and as they grow that taking care of yourself is important because you can't do anything further or help other people when that happens. So when we love and care for ourselves, there's a number of things that happen. So one of the big things when we start really practicing self-love and self-care, we stop comparing ourselves to others and participating in a self-made competition. And as a result of stopping that, we'll always be enough for ourselves and others. When we start loving and caring for ourselves, we lower our risk for depression, anxiety, hypertension, heart attacks, and other heart-related problems. That physical aspect is so important. It can also help boost your immune system, lowering the chances that you'll even catch a cold, those simple things. And these happen when we start loving ourselves and we start practicing And that's a big thing. We talked about self-awareness during the last episode or during the last segment. It's embracing that reality, and we stop blaming and fighting. We have that struggle against reality, and it becomes so tiresome. And when we can really love ourselves and be self-aware and know our worth, we can really embrace what is the now and stop blaming others for our actions or inactions. And when we start loving ourselves and we start practicing self-care, we truly know that love is around every corner. Not only from the love that we have for ourselves, but the love that we offer to others and the love that we get from others. Because when we show people that we love ourselves, we show how we deserve and how we desire to be loved. And this love creates a more peaceful and accepting world around us, right? When we're not angry with everything, you see those commercials or those different things on the internet where one person helps another, then that person helps somebody else. It truly is a ripple effect. And when we start from within, it's going to have that ripple effect as we go through. Another big thing that happens is that we throw out to the universe what we desire, right? And we start living a life of abundance because we're throwing that out there. We are really, it's that vibe, your vibe attracts your tribe situation. What you're putting out, you're getting back in return. So we allow for that growth to occur in our lives. And the more we grow, the more we spread love and joy. And that's a world that I think we all want to be in. And we begin to be energized to get back to living, loving, caring, helping, and really serving, having that servant leadership mentality. And we feel safe in knowing that we will be there for ourselves through our life's journey, because you have to live with yourself the rest of your life. Why wouldn't you want to be around somebody you love? And even if when we lose somebody, whether that's through death, divorce, just growing out of support from one another, we have the power of our self-love helping us get through all the life throws at us, all the difficulties, all the joys, all the hard times. We practice more love and acceptance towards others. And when we love and care for ourselves, despite those flaws, we begin to recognize that flaws don't make up the entire person. When we realize this, we can then be more forgiving of our flaws, but also of others' flaws, and growing to accept them as part of our kind of the full package. So what do you think, Jacob? I'd like to know. So if we practice self-love and self-care, and we start realizing that failures and setbacks are all part of life, and what can we learn and grow from? How is that going to change your perspective?
Yeah, I think that failures and setbacks are really important for us to grow, especially when it comes to self-love and viewing our self-worth, because the way I like to see it is that failures aren't necessarily a negative, because they are a learning experience and an opportunity for us to grow. And I think that when you look back on the way you've grown following a failure, it can contribute to a greater sense of self-worth and self-love following that.
Yeah, and that's completely true. And it's the perspective, right? It's changing your perspective that, yes, I failed. I didn't fail. What was it? I learned 100 ways not to have something happen. I can't remember the quote. It's Thomas Edison, I think, said it. It was something on, I didn't fail 100 times. I figured out 100 ways not to make a light bulb, or, whatever it was. And it's so true. When we feel at peace by accepting ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses unconditionally, we do grow. We create significant relationships with representing our true self. And failure, you can see it as you didn't achieve something, or you could say, I learned something. Because you do, no matter what the issue is, whatever the goal is, whatever the project is, just because you might not have achieved it the first time, it's probably better, because you learn acceptance. You learn, where was the weakness? How do I fail with humility? How do I learn from it? I learn I need to, maybe do X, Y, and Z, and I need to reach out for help a little bit more. You really want to be able to learn from an experience, whether it was successful on the first try or successful on the 100th try. And that all really does happen when we begin with loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, knowing our self-worth, and being accepting of where we are now. Because we hold the power to alter our futures, our careers, our relationships, our passion, our compassion, our empathy, and authenticity. We are not controlled by fear when we move forward. When we recognize that love is the strongest power within ourselves and with others. And I think that helps to replace blame, shame, and anger with ownership and creation. And I think that is something that many of us forget. And when we know what our purpose is and we live it, we can then move forward to have that more fulfilling life. And we can inspire others to love and care for themselves, especially when others see the love and care that we give ourselves. They will notice the ways in which they can change their attitudes and lives to better love and care for themselves and others. So I know what you're all thinking. It's all great, right? I want to do it. I'm ready. Sign me up. I want all these things, but I don't have time. How do I do it? We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll get into the hows. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Patricia McNair, host of Divine Guidance with Patricia, and I'm here to help you live a more authentic, spiritually connected life. Join me every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Being who you are in everyday life is the key to unlocking soul wisdom within that our whole self already knows. Get ready to embrace your spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being, your whole being. Discover your gifts and strengthen your connection to spirit. We will explore earth guidance, divine truth and love, past life lessons, and so much more. So listen in to Divine Guidance with Patricia and join in your personal adventure to triggering, opening, validating, and being all that you are. For more information about me, visit divineguidance.earth.
Are you truly ready to experience overflow in every area of your life? Are you ready to go from limited to limitless? Imagine starting your week off with a deeper connection to the God consciousness. It's time for you to feel inspired, uplifted, and shifted. I invite you to join me, Tracy L., online or in person for our Soul Sundays. Start your week off feeling empowered and ready to serve and expand the miracles waiting for you.
Do you know how to achieve wellness in all areas of your life? Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. Signs of wellness are a capacity to love and ability to nurture, a sense of purpose, a good sense of humor and plenty of fun in your life, a concern for others and a respect for the environment, a conscious commitment to personal excellence, a sense of balance and integrated lifestyle, and capacity to cope with whatever life presents. Well people enjoy their lives and want them to last as long as possible. That's why the wellness mindset usually accompanies other constructive, healthy lifestyle habits. By adopting a wellness mindset and behaviors like eating well, taking the right nutrition for the body, exercising, and saying affirmations are just a few things to structure a healthy system of values and beliefs. I will be your wellness coach to help you achieve a wellness lifestyle. Call us at 888-777-4232. That's 888-777-4232. And visit us at MaryJaneMack.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. To listen to a replay of this episode or sign up for helpful tips and learn about upcoming events, go to getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com. So we've been talking about self-love and self-care, self-awareness and self-acceptance. A lot of heavy stuff on the day after the holiday of love. And in my opinion, self-love is where it all begins. With self-care, you can grow physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, organizationally, but it's self-love that allows you to grow really, truly emotionally, which will help you grow in all the other ways. I know too many people, both men and women, who don't know just how special they are. They're really either busy focusing on the negative, or they're surrounded by so many negative people that they don't even know that there's anything in life to be positive about. And truly, I know how it feels to be your own toughest critic, to blame yourself for the simplest of mistakes, and to wish with all your heart to be living somebody else's life. You know, I have suffered from so many different things, and there have been times where I've written down how much I might have hated myself or how stupid I am. And if I didn't write it down, maybe I'm thinking it. You know, I think that is where we need to start. We need to start from within. Know your worth, love yourself, and move forward. But why? You know, why do we do that? You know, and I know it's hard at first to believe, and you don't want to listen to the people telling you how wonderful you are. It's even harder when you're not surrounded by people who tell you how loved you are. And I think that is something that I think, Jacob, have you experienced that? Have you ever experienced being told you are so good at that, or, you know, you are so loved and it makes you uncomfortable?
Definitely. Yeah, that's one of my least favorite things to hear, although it is, you know, sometimes nice. You want to hear it in a different way, but when you're told you're the best at this, it's kind of, I don't know about the best, but thank you, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to accept a compliment, you know, because if you say, "Oh, I know," then it's like, "Oh, really?" Mm-hmm. But I mean, it is, and it gets back to acknowledging or admitting that you love yourself, right? Or saying, "I am enough." And I giggle at times when I look in the mirror, or I have it posted in different places, "I am enough," because I think of, you know, Stuart Smalley, the Saturday Night Live skit that, you know, gosh darn it, people like me. But it's true. And when you like yourself, I think it's easier for other people to like you. And it's kind of like at a review time. If anybody's ever had a review at work, when somebody is pointing out your weaknesses, while you might not like to hear it, you might get defensive. You might want to prove that those statements are wrong. When you get a compliment, it can be just as hard, like, "Oh, yeah." Or somebody says, "Oh, you look really nice today." Maybe your first instinct is, "Oh, do I look lousy any other day?" I mean, I didn't do anything. So I think really acknowledging and learning how to accept a compliment and letting people know that, yeah, you are good at that. And it helps. It not only helps you, but it helps others, because somebody might not be good at that specific task, or maybe not like to do it. And if you're good at it and like it, you start doing a collaboration, right? It's like in a work environment. I use this analogy. If you have somebody on a team and somebody really enjoys doing an Excel spreadsheet, and they know all the tricks, like, you know, how to do a pivot table or how to create graphs and, you know, all the different, doing VLOOKUPs, all these fun things that you can do in Excel. And you have somebody on your team who knows how to do it and likes to do it. But you have somebody who maybe really does not enjoy doing that. Hey, is that a task that somebody can share? You don't want to pawn it off on somebody every time if that person needs to learn how to do it. But you learn on what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and how can I work with others? It's the same thing. Acknowledgement. That's that self-awareness, self-acceptance, making sure that you understand where you're at. And I know, like you said, it's hard at first when people tell you that you're really wonderful. It's even harder when you're surrounded by people who tell you all these things, and I think we've all been in that spot. And you want to say hello to the sunshine, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm going to give you some tips on how to start loving yourself a little more every day. So this is the how do we help ourselves? 1, get rid of the negative influences in your life. Now, that first step to loving yourself is get rid of the toxic people, those people who don't love you, who put you down. And I think that is something to remember. Love is an action. It's a choice, right? So anybody who claims they love you but doesn't make time for you, doesn't make you feel special, or treats you like you're unimportant, and doesn't support you, doesn't respect your boundaries, drains you, perhaps those individuals need to be cut loose. And we can move forward. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not saying that there aren't times where you might not have time for somebody, but we need to get rid of those negative influences in our life. 2, take more time to do the things you want to do. And that's a big one. So if you don't want to do something, you don't want to go to a movie, you don't want to go to a party, it's okay to say no, right? You don't have to give an explanation. You want to be able to do something that you want to do. Stop the I should go, and then you get resentful for going, right? You don't have a good time because you really didn't want to be there. You can politely decline and just do you. Number 3, take that step out of your comfort zone. Try something new, try something exciting, right? Do something that you wouldn't normally do. Because the things that you are scared to do are most often the things that you regret doing the least. It's that mindset that helps you realize that most people are too concerned about themselves that they hardly ever notice those around them. Kind of like the ones dancing. You're out there dancing and just having a good time. Most people are looking at the people who aren't dancing. Who cares? Who cares if you're not great at it? If you want to do it, you want to try to get out of your comfort zone, because outside of that comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. Number 4 is be active. And I don't mean you have to be running a marathon to be active. No, activity is whatever you want it to be. It's giving yourself some movement, right? Mentally, reading a book, going for a walk. Just do something, be active. 5, meditate. And I'm not saying you have to meditate for 2 hours a day. Just take a few minutes once or twice a day to breathe, to focus on that breath. I do this in the morning before I wake up, setting my intentions for the day through a meditation, and I do it at night so I can sleep, right? I can get rid of everything that happened that day and just relax. And the last one is compliment yourself. I know it sounds silly, but I don't really care. It works. I find at least one thing I genuinely like about my look, my outfit, or whatever happened that day. I have a mirror that says, you are enough. And I love compliments. And just like that, like I said earlier, the Saturday Night Live skit, the Stuart Smalley, make sure that you are complimenting yourself. Because loving yourself is hard because nobody knows your mistakes, flaws, and thoughts as much as you do. It's so easy to beat yourself up when you miss something, forget something, or make a silly mistake. But I challenge you to be patient with yourself. I challenge you to follow some of these tips that we've given throughout the show today and stick with them. Because loving yourself is possible. Because you're awesome and you are enough. Self-love and self-care aren't things that can be found or created overnight. Do it once and then forget about it, right? That's not how it works. Just like any relationship, and self-love and self-care are about relationships that you have with yourself. It needs to be nurtured and cultivated, and if done, can make the biggest impact on your life. Remember, if you are with yourself for the rest of your life, love yourself the best. I'm going to thank you all for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any portion of today's episode or you want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific right here on Transformation Talk Radio. Before I sign off, remember to ask yourself, am I living a rooted life? If the answer is no, Take time to determine what you need to do, then take action to make that answer a yes. One way to take action is set up your free Empower Hour call with me. No charge, no obligations. Go to Get Rooted Radio to find out how I can help you take that action. And if you are ready to live, love, and let go, join me for my 12-week signature group coaching series, The Rooted Life. This series will assist you in achieving your goals and moving forward by letting go of the things that no longer serve you, learning to love yourself and others fully, and living life to its fullest. Go to GetRootedRadio.com to learn more about the 12-week series, to register or get that free Empower Hour. If you mention Get Rooted Radio, you'll receive $100 off my 12-week series. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit GetRootedRadio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on TransformationTalkRadio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit GetRootedRadio.com. That's GetRootedRadio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.